So this morning, as we always do on Friday, we have a very, very special guest, Brendan Bartic, joining us from 2 hours in the future, by the way, or 2 hours in the past, by the way, joining us at 6:30 in the morning. Brendan, is that right?
It is 6:30, yes.
6:30. This man, I love it, getting up in the middle of the night like that to join us. Thank you, Brendan.
No, my pleasure.
Brendan joins us from Colorado with what I think, Brendan, is the number one production real estate team in the state. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, amazing. And Brendan and I have the fortune of being in Gary's top teams group together. We've come across each other in a couple of different rooms, and he's actually got a pretty amazing story that we're going to dive into here. So, Brendan, we started doing this call about 5 years ago. We started inviting leaders in various different parts of our lives and the industry to come and speak to us because I don't know about you, but I feel incredibly grateful every day to wake up and have access to, people like Gary, people like you, people that are in those rooms with us. And I learn so much all the time. And then I come back to the team and there's, 30 willing, eager people dying to learn, how do we take it to the next level? And I spew 10 minutes worth of information on them and realize, oh boy, I'm really not as good at delivering this content as the people I just learned from. So I just figured several years ago I was going to get out of the way. I was going to stop being the bottleneck, and I was going to bring the leaders to them. So what we like to dive into on these Friday calls is really leadership and personal development, kind of the story, right? Not so much of the day to day, the tactical, not so much of that stuff, but more of like the how'd you get here? Like you've got something exceptional, top 1% real estate team in the country. You've built something extraordinary. How does that happen? How come 85% of agents are out of the business in the first 3 years, and a select few people are able to build something extraordinary? What makes that work for you? So take us to the beginning, Brendan. Like, how'd you get started in the industry? Like, what was the motivation? What drove you to make the decisions to build a team and lead people the way that you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And I was definitely not expecting this many people to be on this morning. So that's it's awesome to see you guys are so, adamant about, development, which I think is important. For me, my story into real estate was very different. I grew up in the social service system because my parents weren't fit to take care of me. And so I went into the social service system at age 11 due to abuse and neglect, and eventually emancipated at 17 years old, and from there joined the U.S. Army Infantry. And so I went and did the whole Army thing, thought I was going to be a lifer, and then I went down to Naples, Florida with a buddy on leave, and I met people that were making a fortune in real estate, and I was making like $500 a month, and I was like, this sucks. And
Yeah.
so I was about to re-up on my military contract, decided not for me, left the military, and came down to Naples, Florida. Didn't get directly into real estate at that point because I was only 21, which we now know from others is not the youngest of age, and so it took me a year longer to get into real estate at that point. And I started as a real estate assistant to a top producer, and I got really lucky in this business. And I think what changed my direction was she was a hardcore, when I say hardcore, Mike Ferry, old school agent. And for those that don't know Mike Ferry, he is very old school. You make the calls, you set the appointments, you go on the appointments. You don't leave until you have a signed agreement. And there was some good in that, but I also learned a lot of crazy things that I thought could be done better. But I came into an environment where I only understood that listings and lead generation were the only way to make it. No one in my office did, really worked with buyers. We had four of the top producers in the state of Florida in my office, and they were all carrying 60 to 70 listings at any given point. And so I learned very quickly from being her assistant the importance of that. From there, then I became an agent on her team once I got licensed, and then I left, became my own agent, and then I became in the top 100 in the state of Florida when I was 24, I think, 23, 24. And yeah, and so if you ask me why, I think it was a lot of fear. I didn't have a family to fall back on, so there was no place to go back to. So it was either make a run at this or, yeah, not have an income.
Go back into the infantry.
Yeah, or go back to the army, which I had no desire to live and I had done multiple tours in Iraq, and I just had no desire to go back to that. So
What
yeah,
was
I think
give me some so let's see, 21, you leave the military, you partner with this agent and you become her assistant. How long were you in that seat? How long were you there?
it was about a year and a half,
Okay.
um, and I cried almost every week. She was extremely aggressive. I don't know if anyone's ever been a real estate assistant, but imagine it. I mean, Matt's obviously super chill, but she was not chill. She was from New Jersey. I learned a lot, but she was very intense. And I think, sometimes it's what you're willing to deal with. I still talk to her to this day, and she's a great mentor, but she taught me a lot of good things about, I guess, tenacity, but her business was 99% turn and burn. She built no relationships. She was so good. A day in the life of, I won't say her full name, but Susan, is she would wake up at 6:30 in the morning with a pack of Newports, start ripping cigs on a cordless phone, and just start cold calling expireds for sell by owners, just listed, just sold. And she was so talented and so aggressive at setting appointments that she would do that for 3 hours a day. I would run CMAs for her, and then she would literally just drive by the front of the office. I would give her 4 listing packets. She would drive off. And then later that day, she would come back, drop off all the signed agreements because we didn't have, electronic documents in the old days.
Yeah.
And then I would process them all. And that was my life for a year and a half.
What was the give me like a rough idea, what year was that?
That was 2003,
Okay. Yeah.
2003, 2004
Yeah, so
ish.
we were in the early run up too. So things were maniacal. The market was crazy then too.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the cool part about all of that experience is I realized the dedication to a skill craft, and again, in that office we did a minimum of an hour of role play every day. People were so in love with their art of lead generation. And I have yet to find that again in even trying to create it in my own team, in my own offices. There was this passion for becoming very good at the art of communication, the skill set of setting appointments, and the freedom that it provided because when you control listings and you control your time, no one can touch you. And so it was just a very interesting environment, and I felt like I was very lucky to be a part of that culture.
What an amazing it's so true. We literally talk about everything that you just said all the time. And I yesterday was in a dialogue with another top producing agent and I said that the crazy part about it is that as much as we talk about it, as much as we emphasize practice, become an expert at your craft, we probably get a 70% adoption rate of our simplest things that we need to do week over week, which is
Right.
wild, right? Because we're actually a top producing team. Like we're the best there is in Connecticut, and
Yeah.
as best there is, we can only get to 70% on an average week, which is madness. So you're not incorrect. So it must have set you up for some future frustration as you've wandered through the industry.
Yeah.
Maybe looking to recreate that experience of these like hyper committed, hyper focused agents who were top producers simply by doing, which at the end of the day we can all acknowledge, nothing too complicated, right? Like pretty Pretty simple stuff, like practicing what to say, who to say it to, when to say it, getting up with the right energy. Maybe it's the Newports. Maybe we all got to take up smoking. Who knows? Maybe we should go back to that.
I mean, when I came in and I was her assistant, I was watching her make $2 million a year, and I started to see this, and I go, "You make $2 million." At that time, she made a lot more over time, but she was making $2 million a year, and I go, you're really good at just setting appointments and really good at, when I started going on listing appointments with her, she just had her presentation. She must have practiced it 4 billion times. She knew what the seller was going to say before they even said it. She knew how to overcome every single objection. And then for the people that were just scared of her because she was so aggressive, I mean, she was definitely a tiger personality. She would just sit there and go, "I'm not leaving until you sign. So you're going to have to pry my butt off this chair because I truly believe I am the number one agent in this market to get your home sold. And I'm going to stay here until I convince you of that. So we're in for a long night unless you're ready to sign now." And I would like fall out of my chair in embarrassment about, "Oh my God, like, did she just say that?" And then I just realized that she had this, she was so passionate and confident about what she could do. And so yeah, that was a great start. And then I got lucky with a lot of, I was heavily into coaching, right out of the gate. I had a lot of great mentors. And I always just think the biggest differentiator in all of success is how much are you committed to learning every single day, every single week? And it takes a lot. I would sit there for hours and listen to old Mike Ferry CDs on the scripting of these things and play them over and over until like they wouldn't play anymore. And so you hear these stories and people talk about, how they got to where they got, and it's like it's just maniacal, simple commitment to the really boring stuff,
Do you think that's
unfortunately.
changed, Brendan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What do you think has changed? What do you think has changed?
I think, well, a couple of things have changed, and maybe in a positive light. The art of, I guess, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word cold calling has become more challenging because of obviously technology and all of this, and for a lot of good reasons, thank goodness. But so I think people gave up on the fact of going, if I'm really good at communicating, I can have a big career because I can't get people on the phone. And if I
Mhm.
can't get people on the phone, then what am I doing this for? Where I then say, well, if you can't get them on the phone, you can get them at the door. If you can't get them at the door, you can get them at a networking event. If you can't get them at a networking event, you can hold a seller seminar. If you can't hold a, so it was
They're
really
somewhere,
opening up.
right? Yeah, they must be somewhere.
You
They
got to
didn't
open up the
disappear.
buffet of attraction, right? And I believe in attraction listing at the highest level. I was born, raised into prospecting listing, and I quickly realized that if I could do attraction listing, which is what I think is a big differentiator, we realized early on that for a long time I was trying to sell my greatness and my talent and my services. And the thing that really set me, the reason I did 6.6 million in GCI last year, and I've done that for a long time, was simply I realized that if you're really wanting to be successful at this, we have two products that we sell. We sell a listing product and we sell a buyer product. We don't sell Brendan is the product. For a long time, I thought I was the product. And I think a lot of agents still get confused in this, is that they're marketing themselves, their personal brand, and no offense to any of this, a team brand. And again, all of that is important. But if you really think about it, you sell a product. So if I'm selling my listing services, I need to make sure that I have a listing service product that's better than my competition's product so I can charge more for my product so I can work less. And that's why, I have a company called Listing Beast that we focus solely on making sure that we charge the most amount of money for every deal we do. And in doing that, we can do a lot less deals, but you have to really build your listing brand, your listing product, and be so confident that it attracts sellers that I'd want to hear it on a radio commercial, I'd want to see it on a TV ad, I'd want to see it on a billboard. And that was the real change where we started getting so many more inbound calls instead of having to lead gen and door knock and do listing open houses and do all of this stuff. Now we have people calling us because our product and the way that we've positioned our services gets a lot more attention than having to do ground and pound cold calling.
I think that's brilliant, totally brilliant, and I couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, what we know is that the more you make, this is one of the really tough the pieces of mental gymnastics that agents generally have to get over, is that the more you make it about you as the product, the shittier your life gets too. Like your life goes on a in direct proportion. When you are the product, then you are on call 24/7. When you are the product, then you are responsible for every single thing that happens, even the things that are outside of your control, right? If their market shifts, if the painter doesn't show up on time, when you are the product, they've fallen in love with you, not a system. When you can sell a system as a product, a method, a model, then it's easy to say, no, that's not part of our formula. When somebody says, well, how about you put a sandwich board on and march up and down the street to advertise the open house? Most agents, when they are the product, they're afraid to say no because they sold the person on the idea that I'll do whatever it takes to sell your home. No matter what cockamamie crazy idea you come up with, I'll do it. When you sell a product, you say, well, that's not part of the product. That's just not what we do. We don't put those tires on this car. This car comes with these tires. We don't do that thing in this formula, or we don't put that ingredient in this cake. This cake comes this way. How did you land there? You were obviously hyper successful as a solo agent. You figured out how to get people to fall in love with you, and to hire you. Um, Usually, there's a turning point, or there's some series of events that leads to figuring out, like, the way I'm doing it is not working the way I want it to.
Correct. Yeah.
Even amidst success, we might be
Right.
winning, but we're winning the wrong way. We're winning and we're saying, I'm winning, but I'm working 7 days a week. I never see my family. I don't have, I have no time with my kids. So I'm getting plaques and awards at the office, but I'm on the verge of divorce over here. What was it for you? What happened?
Yes, luckily not on the verge of divorce, but what I realized is, especially when I started to grow the team, that when I was having people try to replicate my presentation, which was heavily built on charisma, heavily built on, yeah, just I was very, extremely confident, and I closed hard. I was just a hard closer. And when you tried to have other people that had different personality styles, in my world, we divide the whole world into tigers, dolphins, and turtles, just instead of the disc profile, because I think it's funny. But everyone's either a tiger, a dolphin, or a turtle, and then everyone goes, "Well, I'm kind of a tiger turtle." I'm like, "No, you're a turtle, right?" And but when you realize that everyone can have success in this business, but they don't all do it the way you do it.
Mm.
So if I could help them sell a product instead of my resume or my team's resume, and the resume didn't hurt, it of course helped, but if they had a listing program that they felt confident in, we had a wonderful talented agent that now works for me in an operational way, but her name's Macy. She was 19 and she was very ambitious, very much a tiger, a young 19-year-old tiger, and she was going on these appointments. But because she looked like she just graduated middle school, she was trying to sell her charisma and sell herself and sell the team for a lot of aspects. So it was really this aha moment that I went and I took a year to redefine how we are going to create a package that focuses on selling this or solving the seller's problems, that focuses on the most exceptional selling experience on earth, and then proving that strategy. We did some very unique things on our program that we don't do any one-off showings, we don't host open houses. So I had to go flip something and go, what's going to give us a unique position in the market, and then package it, put a bow on it, give it to Macy, put Macy back out there. And then now she, the next year she did 16 units that following year, right? Listings, and still looked like she just graduated middle school. So a lot of it came from wanting to, yeah, not have to have others do, the lifting. And then to be honest with you, Matt, I also lost a lot of listings to other agents. I was because I was so strong at setting appointments. I didn't really care if I my goal was to be in and out of a listing appointment in 28 minutes. Like I used to stopwatch myself. That's how boring it got after a while. I go, I'm gonna click this watch, go in here, run shop, get a signature, and be out in 28 minutes. And I got to the point where I became so robotic in it that I, as you would imagine, didn't have a lot of past clients and didn't have a
Mm,
lot of good
yeah.
center of influence relationships and doing all of that. And so, to your point of burnout, it got very exhausting because the majority of my business were internet weirdos. And
Yeah.
there, as we all know, there's a lot of internet weirdos, a lot of expireds, which, if you do a full expired business, it's a way to make a lot of money. It's really depressing because if they're expired, it's
They're
because they're
pissed.
crazy. A lot of
Yeah.
them are
And they're
crazy
pissed.
as
Yeah.
all get out, right?
Yeah.
So I was dealing with, and I was doing a lot of NED for short sale foreclosures. So I had a depressing book of business, and when you have a depressing book of business, it wears on you, but you're making buckets of money. I was making so much money, it was like it's very addicting, but it tears on you. And so I really wanted to build a relationship built business with people that liked me, that paid me a lot more money. Plus I was probably my average commission at that time, just on the list side, was probably 2.1%. Because I would do a commission structure that I thought was brilliant, where I was like, well, if I sell the home in-house, meaning we bring the buyer, it's 4.5%. And if you buy with me, it's 5%. But if neither of those two things happen, it's 6%. And I did that for years and stupidly didn't realize that that commission structure made me work so much more for so much less money. But in my brain, I go, ooh, units, 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 yum, yum, yum,
Right.
yum, yum. And so when I made the decision, I go, I'm never taking another listing for less than 3.5% ever, and charging a $599 transaction fee. I could sell almost a third less houses, make more money, work with better clients, and not have to go and kill myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was a big determination of going. My motto for the last several years has been work less, make more. And that's how I was able to do that. And that's what I've helped other agents do across the country.
It's really it's such an interesting revelation that you see a lot of I think a lot of solo agents land there and they just don't figure out how to make the change.
Right.
Right? A lot of independent agents grind themselves to the point where they're at max capacity. They're doing what you just talked about and they're just fighting for every deal and willing to cut their commission and willing to cut their fee because they still don't really know what their product is, right? Their product is still themselves and they never make the adjustment. So you made that adjustment. Here's what I like to dig into because we talk about things like this all the time. Hey, you've got to charge what you're worth. You've got to, manage and effectively value your time. When you made that decision, I'm never going to take another listing for less than 3.5%. Um, was it really never?
Oh, yeah. For me,
Really?
100% never.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, it was really never.
I
And
get so I would ask this question of 30 people on the team and say like, how many of you would be willing to make that decision today, walk in a listing appointment, turn around and walk out if they said I'll give you 3%? Very few, few. So let's dive into that for a second because that's a special mindset, Brendan. That's something that requires a clarity of abundance. There was some part of you that knew that saying no actually would lead you to more. How did you
yeah,
figure that out?
well, when you get your scripting and your dialogues right, of course, and if you get those types of questions, it's all built into the presentation. And when you're really good at this, you're letting the client know that if I don't trust my value, then how do you hope that I'm going to represent you to ensure that you get the value out of your home? And there's many, many others, right? But in looking at this, it came down to a simple mathematical problem. I go, I want to make this much this year, and I want to work these amount of hours, and I want to take these amount of vacations. So when I looked at that and I said, my average sales price is this, which also is a big focus of growing that, I said, if I want to make this income and work this amount of hours, then I have to be really good at getting this amount for what I do. And if I sacrifice on even 2 points of, do it at 3-2 or whatever, or if I crumble in any way, then that throws that whole recipe off, right?
Mhm.
It throws the whole recipe off.
Yeah, you're
And
saying something. You're saying something that I think like is very powerful for people to hear, which is that your recipe wasn't really about the money. It was about the life you wanted to live. You said,
correct,
I have this much time to get this, to make this much money in order to live the life I want to live, which includes the time that I want to work, the time that I want to do other things, the time that I want to go on vacation. And if I don't do the things that I've prescribed for myself, the compromise isn't going to be just about money. It's going to be the life I want to live. I'm going to be able to take less vacation. I'm going to be able to spend less time with my family. I'm going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to hit the personal wealth building or, buy the house that I want or pay for my kids to go to college. The compromise isn't actually in that moment of taking less for the listing. The compromise is the life you live. And so
correct.
you found clarity in a connection between what was important to you and how you behaved every day. I think that's
Exactly.
I think that's a struggle for a lot of people. I think a lot of people get lost in that. How do you help coach your team through it?
Yeah, it's really about so it's a very simple thing. Once you understand that it's not about unit count, it's not about volume, it's about dollar bills, right? Money in my pocket, then you start to realize very, very quickly that if it's a business decision. It's like I look at it and go, I talk about this all the time. I was like, if you were going to have knee surgery and you go and ask your knee doctor and be like, hey, could you like discount the knee surgery, right? Like that would be great because like I heard other knee surgeons do it for cheaper. It's like if he's the best knee surgeon on earth, it's never going to happen. Like it's a mindset of going, are you a professional? And people, this is the with this whole NAR thing, it's been the best time of the world to be a listing agent because before we were having to hardcore negotiate, and I'm not going to say anything that's going to get me in trouble here, but for both sides of the commissions in a lot of
Right.
ways. And
Right.
now we're free from that, and it's just going, I get you this because I do this exceptional service, and my service does this, this, and this that makes your life better. And because it makes your life better, and yeah, you're right, Susie is 2% or Johnny is 1.5%. So you have a decision to make. Do you want the very best or do you want discount? And if you want discount, I wish you the very best. You're going to get discount results. Have a great time. Right. And then they end up expiring. They overprice. They don't have a good experience. And I come back and then I charge them 4%. No, just kidding. But right. Like, but it's all in that mindset of just looking at going, if I stray from this, then my whole belief in my product becomes less, right? Like I was just watching this thing on people on Ferrari dealerships, right? To even buy a new Ferrari, you have to buy a used Ferrari first. And you have to get on a wait list to buy a new Ferrari. They make it so hard and so insanely difficult to buy that product because they put a high level of residual on the value of it that it's better. I always tell people you can buy a Timex or you can buy a Rolex. Both tell the time. Why are you paying 50 times more, probably 5,000 times more for a Rolex instead of a Timex? It's perception of value. So if you
I'm
don't
here.
determine your perception of value and you go in and go, I want to be the Timex real estate agent, then make Timex money. But you got to sell a lot of Timexes to ever make real money. A
Yeah.
lot.
I'm hearing a couple of things that I think are just so powerful. It starts with this story that you told about kind of your entry into the business. If you had been a real estate assistant for somebody that wasn't a hardcore Tiger, Mike Ferry, churn and burn, smile and dial agent, some of that concept of abundance, and you hadn't cried your way through the first year and a half, which by the way, I love, right? Then you don't see in action the benefit of the result, right? So you witnessed it and you saw that Hammer in Newport's drinking coffee, New Jersey accent, flying through Florida, making $2 million a year got a result. And at 21 years old, you said, I like what she got. I like what she has. I may not want to do it exactly how she got it, but I like what she has. So I'm willing to do everything short of smoking the pack of cigarettes every day. Right. So
Completely.
I'm willing to do what she does in order to get that, even though at 21, you had not experienced that level of success. You just witnessed it. So you watched what top performer did, you did what they do, and then you put yourself into practice to get to the point where your skill set and your expertise were irrefutable. The beauty of that is, and this is again where I think many agents fail or struggle or get to the point where they hit a ceiling and then can't quite break through. Um, the the commitment to the skill set is what gives you the confidence to be able to charge more. The commitment to the skill is what gives you the confidence to be able to say, I'm an expert. It's what gives you the confidence to say, you're going to have to peel me off this chair. There is no one better. And so few agents have that level of confidence because they don't practice enough. They don't commit to the skill set enough. They don't commit to the actual practice of this is the product, this is what I deliver, and I know it's fantastic. So when you can get to that, then your mindset shifts to a mindset of abundance. And when you have an abundant mindset, you know that you're worth what you charge. So you've got to start, like, if you go back to the beginning and say there's a brand new agent, maybe there's somebody on the team right now that's saying, well, how do I get to that point? It's really about practice. It's really about getting so stinking good at something that you know exactly what to say, when to say it, who to say it to, that under any circumstances, you know how to respond.
Right, Matt. And you have to, and in addition to that, you got to make a choice. I always tell people, if you're going to do something, are you obsessed with it? If you're not obsessed, then go do something else
Mm,
because you're just wasting everyone else's time. And when I have to deal with agents on the other side that aren't obsessed with being the very best at what they're doing, you're wasting my time.
mhm.
It's just an annoyance. So you have to first determine and going, am I obsessed with this?
Right.
And you have to, I think for those that are really looking at it, some people go, well, I'm okay with just being somewhere in the middle of the pack. If you're not waking up every day going, I had every stat of every leaderboard that you could possibly have, not because I cared more about the awards. It was going, I want to know that if I'm doing this, I'm one of the best that's ever done it. And if I'm not one of the best that's ever doing it, what am I waking up for? So I can make enough money to go buy Pokemon cards, which is a
Mhm.
true story about another agent that I know, right?
You
There's
use
nothing wrong with
Ferrari. Maybe you
Pokemon
use
cards,
Ferrari, right?
right? But yeah, but like whatever you're into, it's like I get it. We all have our hobbies and our side hustles, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be passionate about your craft and that you're going to go do, what you really, really want to do. And then the second thing is what I'm seeing a lot of agents not understand is I ask simple questions. It always starts with this: why should I list with you? If when I ask that question, you're not ready to jump out of your seat in pure passion to tell me why I should list with you, and your elevator pitch is so fire that my pants come off, that's a weird analogy, but I'm just like, woo, this is
Right.
amazing, right? Like if it's not something that powerful, then you got to go back to the drawing board and go, I got to still work on it, right?
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I ask this second question to agents all the time. How many times have you marketed your listing product in the last 7 days? How many times have you marketed your listing product? Now people go, well, I just did a post on social media for blah, blah, blah. And I go, sorry, the sun's hitting off a weird window in my house and it's making my head. They go, I just did a just listed post or I just did a this post. And I go, no, your services. And here's what I think about all the time, Matt. All we really do to make an absorbent amount of money is help sellers sell for the most money possible in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of headache. If you market your selling package to those three things and you talk about it all the time and go, hey, my name is Edward Ford and I help sellers sell for the most money possible in the least amount of time with the least amount of headache with my Edward Ford package or the team package or whatever package you're selling, da 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 da, give me a call and I will come over and take care of you, right? Help you out, better marketing, but you get the point,
Mhm.
right? But
Yep.
it's like every single day we should be thinking about, are we doing this billboard? Instead, we're selling our name and going, I'm out showing houses, which tells the market what? You're a buyer's agent. I'm out doing this, which tells the market what? I'm a this, right? It's like you got to really make sure if you're going to attract sellers, you have to constantly be talking about selling and the services that you provide to help sellers. And I
Mhm.
think this is where we get so lost. Now, if you want to be a buyer's agent, then do the same thing, but get your buyer package really, really good and market that you are the greatest buyer's agent on earth. I don't think I've ever been on a Zoom this early, and
Yeah,
the
this early.
sun
We
never
got you out
comes
of
in the
bed
house
early,
this
right?
time of
Yeah.
day. But
I love it. I love your passion for this.
yeah,
So y- I'm gonna ask you. I'll put you on the spot if you're okay with it. So
please.
I think listening to an expert sounds like a great idea. So why should I list with you?
Oh, that's a great question, Matt. So, with Colorado's most innovative home selling program, we sell homes for over market value in 65 hours or less with our patented sold in 65 program with no one off showings, no open houses. So, I would love just 15 minutes of your time to come over tomorrow, explain this innovative program to make sure we can do the same for you. Does tomorrow at 1 work or is 4 o'clock better for you?
I mean, I need to meet with you in 15 minutes. Can you come over now?
I
I
can't
love
wait
it.
to meet you.
I love it. I
And
love it.
is
No,
your wife
that
going to be there?
what I love, yeah, right, exactly. What I love is again, so that's an expert response, right? Does every, and I asked the question, can everybody answer that question with as much precision? And I would be willing to bet that doesn't change much, right? That answer, if somebody says, why should I list with you, is pretty much the same just about every time. Maybe
Right.
you
Well, you just got to get your bullet points of whatever it is that your services are. Maybe you don't do one-off showings or agent accompanied showings, or maybe you do staging, or maybe you do. You got to think about it, looking at it like an offer, right? You want to have the greatest offer on earth, and then the rest of your job is to just explain to everyone else why your offer is so great. And that
right.
was I never thought about it like that. I would lose listings because I would sell, a long time ago, it was called the Bartic Group, and I would sell me personally. And then you said it earlier, Matt, and I want to touch on this. You're exactly right. You want to relieve the stress of them saying no to you and then saying no to your product. Because I'd start hitting some Crown and Gingers at the end of the night because I'm like, man, these people just keep turning me down because they think that I'm,
Right.
they listed with Stacy Swanson, who sold 6 houses last year. I sold 320. You know
Right.
why they listed with her?
How did
Because
she beat me? Right. Yeah,
yeah, because
right.
she cared more about them than I cared about them,
Right.
right? I cared about in, out, give me the money, I'm the best, and I know I can get your house sold. And they go, that guy's a douche, she's nicer, and I'm
Yeah.
going to list with her. So
Yeah.
I had an evolution of having to, wheel it back and get a lot more. I tell everybody, and they laugh at this, and they say you should put it on a bumper sticker. I go, our only job in real estate is to make people feel special. And that's
Hmm.
me saying that. And even when I say it, I kind of want to throw up. But I truly believe it is because
Yeah.
it really is. If you make people feel special and it's all about them, what are they going to do? They're going to reciprocate. And when they
Hmm.
reciprocate, back to dollar bills.
Right.
So it's really just making sure that I understood that. I cared a lot about me early in my career, and I cared about what I could do and the performance of what I could provide them. I forgot to stop. I've stopped caring about why they're selling, why they care, what are their problems. Once you solve seller problems, you can charge whatever you want.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I want to be really respectful of your time. So we've got one hand up. This has been spectacular, Brendan, and we're gonna have to spend more time together. But let me roll it out to the team and just see if we've got any questions before we send you on your way to go get, some sunglasses and a hat.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm excited.
EB,
How
what
can
are
I
you
help?
what are you thinking, Aaron? You've been so patient with your hand up for a while, so
Yeah.
here, drop the fire for us.
Well, he was given so much, I'm willing to wait because that was all so great. So just a couple of things, like right from the beginning, I just want to thank you for your candid introduction because there are those of us on the team who also had a very traumatic start to their lives. So, mentioning that your childhood wasn't, easy for you. You didn't have everything handed to you on a silver platter, right? You had to work for it. And then also your start in real estate was a little challenging with a very militant and very rigid boss or broker that you worked with. I also had that same beginning in real estate. I love that you didn't quit. despite the challenges in your life. I love that you didn't back down because obviously this is your thing. Where do you think that your confidence and your vision and your drive comes from? Because clearly you didn't have strong role models in your childhood. Do you think that comes from adversity, or I just because I have such a similar history, I just would love to know where all that came from because it's definitely working for you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think early on, Aaron, it was fear, right? I think, comfort is the killer of greatness. And I think some of us are comfortable, and I was not comfortable. I was scared every waking second that if I didn't make it, I was going to be back on the streets. And I had moments of time when I was young, when I was on the streets in between different group homes and situations. And so, I've only completed the eighth grade. I mean, I literally got my GED while I was in social services before emancipating to join the Army. And at that time, you could join the Army at 17 with a GED, thank goodness. And then everyone's like, oh, the Army changed you and all this. No, the Army helped. I mean, the Army was definitely good, but people don't realize in the Army too, it's a lot of people that came from nothing that are all trying to just escape, poverty. Right, the people that I were with were all escaping poverty or bad situations. I wasn't in like the Army that you see where it's like everyone's like a lieutenant and it's the Air Force and it's like we just shot people and blew stuff up. That was the Army I was in, right? And so it was a very aggressive type situation. But as far as learning from going from terrified with my back against the wall, what I got very lucky with was, besides Susan, my scary mentor, I had a lot of other great mentors that were willing to reach out their hand and help. And if it wasn't for those people, and I could name them off in a list, I don't think I would be here. So my thing would be, if anyone's looking at this, it's going, I did a thing, I don't know if it was Quantum Leap or with Gary, you put your hand down and you draw your hand, and it's the 5 people that you surround yourself with, right? And it's one of my favorite exercises to do. And and Gary goes, the only reason I'm at where I'm at and you're at where you're at is because my 5's better than your 5. And I go, damn.
Yeah,
You don't know my 5. And I got all defensive. And then I was like, oh, his 5 are better than my 5. Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, and at the time, I think I only had 3. Right? I was like, I don't even have a thumb and a pointer. I only got 3 people that are my ride or dies that I really can depend on, that I can believe. So I went and sourced, got to have great mentors. You got to have a good team around. And I can see all these people are in love with development, but yeah, who is that 5, and who do you need to replace? Maybe there's some people in that 5 that are holding you back, and that was a hard part too, because I had a lot of hood rat friends back in the day. I mean, real bad, and I had to cut a lot of people out of my life because anytime I did need something great, they were like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be back." And I was like, "I ain't never coming back."
Right.
I ain't never coming back. So
That's one of the hardest things as
yeah,
you do evolve, is realizing that you're not doing it to leave people behind,
right,
but that they feel left behind. But that's only,
completely.
they're just not committing to, and for a lot of us, that includes your family. And that's really one of the hardest parts, is that, you come up and it's like you want to bring them with you. And a lot of us have to do the sort of the heavy lifting of the sort of mental work around what that feels like. Not necessarily cutting people out, but making sure that they don't emotionally have a grip on you as you move through your transition, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, Matt, as soon as I started making money, what happened? My parents came out of the woodwork. First call they
mm,
said to me was, "Oh, how you doing?" This is after 5 years of not seeing them when I was in social services. First thing they asked for, money,
yeah.
right? And I made a decision right then. Never spoke to him again. Still haven't spoke to him. And some people go, "How can you do that?" And I go, "They were bringing no value to my life. They were not going to continue to bring value to my life. So either I keep sitting here and going, going through this over and over and dealing with this drama, or I cut ties and I move forward." And is there regret there sometimes? Sure. But you got to make decisions on going, am I going to carry this anchor with me, or am I going to sit in my boat and sail into the future? You got to make decisions, and they're not easy.
Not easy. Not easy at all. Thank you. Corey, what are you thinking?
A lot of things that I don't know if they're going to come out as a statement, a question, or whatever. I actually have 2 notebooks going at the same time, so I'm going to
Two
apologize.
notebooks.
I'm
Wow.
going to apologize if I come off like an airhead. Um, Very similar start, very same year. I like when he said his year. To myself, I started working as an assistant to a top producer. Actually, he was the agent who sold my then husband and I our first home. And I was always obsessed with the real estate shows. Back then, they were on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock, and you could watch the real estate shows. And I mentioned that to him. He's like, I was a paralegal at the time. He's like, I could use some admin help at night. You interested? So of course I went in and I did that and, caught the bug right away, got my license real quick. Everything went really, really fast. The difference with him, you had a turn and burn type of person. He was a lazy ass top producer, but he was a top producer. But he was a top producer because his wife was an amazing top producer. So she was in what we called the Valley area here. Everybody will know the Farmington, Simsbury area. He was in Bristol, where I am. So, I didn't learn a lot from him that I cut it short within a year and I went on my own. But I loved your story where how you followed that person along. And I was very thankful that even though I learned more from his wife, not working for his wife.
Right,
So that is
right.
such a good way for people to learn is to follow the top producers and do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then you used somehow goes along with what I'm saying is I never knew that you have to buy a used Ferrari before you buy a new one. I'm not even in the market, so that's not that. But I love that. I think that you got to put your blood and work in before you can come out on top. And Matt, that is a message Matt will repeat constantly. You're not going to wake up one day and have 25 listings falling in your lap.
Right,
You're not
right.
going to,
But it's
and
not, but it's not necessarily about time. It's just about work. Like
well,
you
that's
can
what I was
have it
just going to
next year.
say. Yeah.
You can change your
And,
life in 90 days. Like you can have 25 listings in 90 days if you're willing to do the work that
yeah.
somebody who gets 25 listings does.
And
Um,
I'm a very relationship driven person as instead of the, I'm me, that turn and burn thing. So I just loved what you just said at the end. Um, I probably take more time than Matt wants me to take at appointments. But I've developed this, after 25 years, it's a hard habit to break. But 90% of my business is fear and referral, so it works. So just so many things you said. I guess I had to repeat to you that I just thought it was fantastic. The
Well, I
Ferrari thing,
appreciate it.
I love that Ferrari analogy. You can't come
Yeah.
out of the womb a Ferrari. You have to work for it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Once we determine our worth, I think it's a big eye opener to just going, again, I think about this. I never want to be the discount. In fact, I'm looking at trying to get to 4.5 now, right? And going, what do I have to do and what pain do I need to take away for the sellers? And what could I do to improve making sure that they get the highest price so that I get 4.5 on just the list side? Right? And what would that look like on how many hours I'd have to work and how many listings I would have to take? And so once you start looking at it as a product instead of going, it's me and I'm on speed dial for buyers and sellers running around, then you can really start to build on something. So
yeah,
I
it's
appreciate it, Corey.
really, really good. Nathaniel, what are you thinking?
Hey, guys, hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you for presenting. My question was around the concept of product that you were describing. You were describing it in the sense of you refining the concept of a product for one of your um team members. I was curious how you implemented that, or if that was implemented before you became a team leader, and what that looked like, the evolution of that concept as a whole.
Yeah, yeah. So when you look at it, it's a great question. All we started to do was look at not just her, but all agents, including myself. And we had been working on this and playing around with a couple of things. And so we locked ourselves in a room and we said, okay, let's start from the top of the whiteboard. What are the problems that sellers hate about selling? And so we wrote on the side of the board all of the things that suck about selling, right? Having to get your home cleaned up and having to get out of the house, and different sellers had different problems. So then we also realized, okay, look, if I have a family of 4, much different than a landlord who has a tenant in a property. So different problems for different sellers. But if I could create a package that solved their problems, and ours is called Sold in 65, right? And again, naming is important, titling is important, all of those things are important. But if you look at it and you just start first with going, what are the problems that I want to solve for my clients? What in my package of services will I be willing to do to solve those problems? Maybe you do a home warranty, maybe you do a pre-inspection home cleaning, maybe you do I just did a podcast interview, and the wonderful agent, she focuses on large families because she has eight kids herself, and so she has a whole pre-check for her target market to make it super easy to help people that have a lot going on in their lives. She brings in a company that declutters and does the boxes and brings a rollaway dumpster. So like you can really take this to a very high level of going, I get paid at the level of problems I solve. What are the problems I want to solve for sellers? And then package it together, put a cool bow on it, name it something if you don't already have something that you're calling it, and then just start yelling at the rooftops why it's so great. And at first, you're going to be doing a lot of fake it till you make it, which we all do, until you have, proven statistics and all of this. But, right now, when I talk to a seller, we get 99.3% of list price to sales price. Our MLS is averaging 94. So I can already bake my commission into my proven process, letting them know that I'm getting on average 5% more than the actual market is selling at. And all they need to do is pay me 3.5%.
Mhm.
Right? So when you
Really,
get these pieces down, but that takes time to build that track record. So yeah, if I'm answering your question correctly, it's just, even if it's your buyer package, right? What makes your buyer package accessible? Why not charge buyers 3.5%? Well, no one would ever pay it. Limited belief, right? It's what are you going to do to make it the most exceptional experience on earth? So you're a Ferrari, and no offense to anyone that owns a Toyota, you're not a Toyota Corolla.
I love this. It's you see this play out too in every industry. And the truth is, like, we already have all the thing. My personal takeaway here is we have all the elements of a great product. We haven't named it. And we haven't put it all on one piece of paper yet. We use it like a grab bag instead of a
Right.
proven system, right? So we're like a short order cook who's got all the eggs, the bacon, the sauce, and we go and we say, "What do you need?" And then we solve the problem on the fly in order to get the listing, as opposed to just calling it what it is, having a package. Um, we're going to get to work on that. It's fantastic. Great question, Nathaniel.
Yeah, great question,
Moses,
Coach.
what are you thinking?
Um, Brandon, thank you for coming over and spending this time with us.
Of course.
I really appreciate all the things that you have gone through in order to get to, to become the best. Couple weeks ago, Matt had mentioned about watershed moments,
Hmm.
and I'm sure you must have had multiple watershed moments. Can you give an example of one or two that you have gone through where you had to make a decision, and once you made that decision, things changed 100% in your favor?
Um, yeah, great question. I think as far as those types of decisions, when I obviously a big one was just a similar one is talking about the 3.5%. I also got to a point in my career where I made a decision never to work with another buyer the rest of my life. And people go, I'm sorry, what? And I go, no, I made a conscious decision that I will never, ever, 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 ever work with another buyer because it wasn't what I enjoyed. It was never something that was the right fit for me. And people were shocked. And so I would bring agents with me on my listing appointments and I would go, I'm here to sell your house. Susie's here to help you find your next home. We're both fantastic at what we do. First, I'm going to take the first 20 minutes to explain how I'm going to get you the most money possible. I'm going to leave you with Sally. She's going to talk about finding your next dream home. That's how I ran it for years and years and years. And so if I don't know if that was the question you're asking, and I'm not really familiar with what a watershed moment is, so I apologize. But
Sort of the pinnacle. There's like moments in your life that you can trace back and go, this was a turning point where it could have gone one way or it could have gone another. And at that moment, a decision was made that set the court that you can draw almost everything back to in your life. And
Oh
most
yeah.
people will
Well,
have three or four. Like you joined the army, you became
I would,
emancipated. Like
yeah,
I
I
picked up a
believe
legal.
in I believe in divine intervention in a lot of ways. And so here in Colorado, there's a mall called the Aurora Mall, and it's not in a nice part of town. It's you know, Aurora's kind of it's gotten nicer over the years, but when I was there, it was really sketchy. And so I'm 17 and I'm doing not the right things. I have a lot of anger. I'm in group homes. I've been incarcerated. I spent 2 years in juvenile detention center, and I'm running with a pack of wolves. And we're at the Aurora Mall, and we sold products to people for money that were illegal. And I'm at the mall, and I literally see this light come through a window, almost like this morning, on the Army recruiting station. And I had never thought, I was like, Army, yeah, right. And I had this like rush of whatever, somebody above come over me, and I go, if I don't get out of here, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I was on a bus to Fort Stewart, Georgia, in Savannah, outside of Savannah, Georgia, and that was it. And every one of my friends thought I was nuts. Like they were like, "Man, you're gonna go over there." You know, Iraq was popping off. You know, the first war. You know, all these things were happening. And I was like, "If I stay here, I'm going to prison. It's a non-negotiable. I have no
Right.
education. I have no family, and I love money. What am I going to end up being? A drug dealer, right? Or a better drug dealer, right? So I was like, I gotta go. So that's a probably better watershed moment than talking about how I can charge
Yeah.
more for real
No, I mean
estate.
it's amazing, but it's amazing, right? Though, so we talk about that because, I think that when you can dial in on those moments in your life, and like you said, there's divine intervention, something took over. When you can get a heightened awareness around that, you realize that those things are happening all the time,
All the
and
time.
and that you're being given those choices every day, and you have to just have awareness around what those choices are. There are just some that really set the course of your life. So I love that. I love it. Aaron, what are you thinking?
Um, I mean, so much good content, but the thing that stood out to me the most was when you were talking about what it took for you to gain mastery, what it took your team to gain mastery of the job. No matter what that job is, it doesn't even have to be real estate, anything. I mean, early in my sales career, it was always repetition, practice, role play, like really embracing this concept that you have to become the master. Like it's your that aside from what you put out there as a product to the consumer or how you show up to them, it's what are you doing every day to make sure that you're the best of the best. And Matt had asked the question, why do we think that's changed? I think that like there's been a change in this like hustle culture, the hustle mentality, and we're trying to tell everybody like, no, enjoy your life. That's good, but when you're in your job, you have to take ownership of being the best and practicing. Um, it's okay to be off when you're off, but when you're on and you're working 40 hours or when you whatever time you're committing to your work, like that's go time, it's game time. And I don't know where like that feels so lost today, not just in our profession, but in most people that I talk to who started their career maybe 10 plus years ago in anything. And so I would challenge everybody in this room to really think about what you're hearing, and that if you want to get to the level of success that you see other people having or that you hope to have, you do have to have that personal commitment to being the best. And you can't wait around for everybody else to get to that level. You might just have to take it into your own hands. And that's like really the message that I heard in the beginning of this call. And you can't you can't force people to do that. You have to be somebody that wants to get up today and say, I want to be the best in my industry for myself. And what does it look like to get there? So I'm really glad you brought that up. And most people who succeed in real estate at a high level have very similar starting points in terms of their skill set. So um, I'm happy to bring that back every day if you guys want it. So just raise your hand. We'll throw on a script practice every day.
Yeah.
Love
And Aaron, thank you. And I just think people go, again, you do script practice for 2 days and you go, I get it, I get it. it would be like me practicing golf for 2 days on a driving range and then trying to go play in the pro tour. I'm going to get annihilated, and it's a lifetime of work. And then some people just have, different talent sectors that are just better at certain things. But like I said, I've seen every style of person have success in this business if they have the regiment to go to where they want to go. And what a big game changer for me also is I don't know how many people have read The Miracle Morning, but I am habitual about my morning. We call it morning mastery. So we took a real estate version of it, and so every morning I wake up at 4:30. I meditate, right? I do affirmations. That's the A. S, I do still to this day script practice, because now my scripts are more for teaching and presenting. So I have 15 minutes of script practice every morning at 4:30 in the morning. The T is I write 2 notes of gratitude, because obviously I got to make sure that I'm setting the intention and taking care of people that I care about. The E is for exercise. The R is for reading. And the Y, which people laugh at, is I watch 45 minutes of YouTube every single morning. Educational YouTube, not some of the stuff you guys maybe watch on YouTube, right? 45 minutes, whether that's TED Talks, Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Ben Kinney, Gary Keller, Jason, whatever it might be. The best instructors on this planet are on YouTube. And now, of course, I'm watching 45 minutes of AI. If I'm not going to be the most intelligent person about AI, someone else is going to be, so I'm going to be left behind. So that takes me 2 hours every morning. So by the time I got here at 6:30 Mountain Time, I've already been up for 2 hours. I've gotten that in. But here's the thing. I go to bed at 8:45 at night, because I will tell you from years of being a party person, nothing good happens after 9 o'clock. Nothing.
Great.
Nothing. But it's hard to make those kind of commitments, right? So
Well,
you
'cause
have to have that.
they equate to sacrifice, and
It's
that's
sacrifice.
that's
But
the
people think
part
it's sacrifice. I think it's an investment.
right, exactly. Yeah, I love it. I love it. There's so many gems in that. So many gems. I hope somebody wrote down the mastery and share it with the team on the team Facebook page. Joe, take us home, buddy. What are you thinking?
I got a whole heck of a lot of thoughts, and Brennan, thanks so much for joining us this morning. I can see why you and Matt connected based on the language and the energy and the mindset that you bring. Second thing, the no buyers is the best thing I've heard in a very long time, and I aspire to get myself to that level as well. I'll find a way.
Just depends on what you like, Depends on what you like.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I like. I
Yeah.
definitely know what I like.
Yeah.
But I really connected. So I have a background where I actually shared my story yesterday with a team where I grew up playing hockey and professional sports, and I was obsessed with that. And so what I struggle with is knowing the level of obsession that it needs to take versus applying that to a new world where I'm not as successful in. Not that I'm not successful, but I'm not as successful as I was in this. So really connected home, and it's something that revisit on an everyday basis to try to improve. And we always hear a message differently at different times. And I think you were sent right now at this time for specific reasons, because a lot of what you said really resonated and put a whole different bow on and challenged what my level of obsession has been. So I really appreciate that. And you mentioned, and I know Matt said this, what changed in the people around us, and I don't think anything has changed. The general public maybe, but the people that are successful, that hasn't changed, and that will never change. The people around you might. So I think if we continue to focus on that, and not focus on how we get those people to get to a level, and focus on who has the character traits that are timeless, those are the people we want to be around.
I love it. I completely agree, man, and I'm glad. Yeah, it's just fun. It's when we talked earlier, and I know we're over on time. Is just I ended. You asked me what my motivation was a lot of time, and in the beginning it was fear, and then over time it became philanthropy, and now I manage 5 group homes. One of them was one that I emancipated from as a kid, and I'm the president of it's called Third Way Center. So we house 200 young adults from age 11 to 21, to helping them do that. So you got to keep finding what that new thing is. I made a lot of money, and then money was really cool. Believe me, making a lot of money is awesome. And then you kind of get stale and you go, okay, great. I got a lot of money. What am I going to do? Golf with all my goober friends all the time and take these trips? So I had to find, you go through these peaks and valleys of finding that next obsession that's going to drive you forward. And then you have to start looking at, okay, great. How am I going to get that feeling back? And it's hard. It's hard to stay obsessed all the time and keep driving forward. And I think it's something that people don't think enough about. And then they wake up and they go, well, I'm only running at 60% today because the gas tank isn't there because I don't know what I'm doing this for.
Yeah, you got it. And then you get into a little bit of a season where you might find yourself drifting a little bit.
And we all do. No one's a robot.
So
I think people
100%,
think that like everyone's
you,
invincible.
I,
No
I love
way.
what
No
you
one.
said. You can't be obsessed all the time. You have to pick what you're going to be obsessed with, and then you have to be all in on it, which actually looks like saying no to a whole lot of other things. That's the crazy part, is it's not actually about saying yes to lots of stuff. It's about saying no. I'm only going to do this until I am so good at it that it becomes the only thing that I'm good at. And then it's no longer a thing you need to be obsessed with. You're just awesome at it. And then you move on to the next thing. So, what a fantastic morning we've had here, Brendan. Thank you so much for sharing your life, your journey, your experience with us. You made a big difference today. So you can check that box if that was one of your boxes today that you wanted to. We're tremendously grateful for you. How can we help you? What's the best way for us to show up in your world to support
Yeah,
you?
no, just you can, my again, if you want to learn more about this art of attraction listing, just go to our Listing Beast YouTube channel. People seem to have a lot of enjoyment there. We also have a Listing Beast podcast, which we'll have Matt on, I'm sure, here in the near future. And yeah, I just think dedicate yourself to learning, and then the more you can give back in any type of way, that's my greatest mission now, is to try to help people to make more money so they can help more people. And if we can do that, then it's worth waking up every day.
Love it. So we'll find you on the Listing Beast podcast. We'll find you on the Listing Beast YouTube channel. How about on social media? Do you have a preference? We find you on Instagram, Facebook. Where's the best way to connect with you? Or all
Yeah,
of you?
everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, it's just my name, Brendan Bartic. Should be
right.
pretty easy to find. But yeah, no, like I said, just your commitment to this morning. I already realized you guys have a special group. Just learn, study, learn, right? You make your money is made by how much you know and the problems you solve. So just keep investing in yourselves, and you guys are all going to keep rocking and rolling. And I'm excited to help any way I can.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
Thank you. We went
Thanks,
over
everyone.
time, but we really,
Thank you.
really appreciate it. You made a big difference here today. So thank you.
Have a great day. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. All right. Hey, happy birthday, Christian. Why don't you go sign something, sell something, or set an appointment for your birthday today, Christian? That sounds like a great plan, man. Go do that. That's a good birthday present. All right, everybody, make it an awesome weekend. Get out there.